Finding those meaningful relationships, connections is really hard today. I believe by 2030, almost every one of us will have an AI digital friend.
Are these just wrappers on top of foundation model, and as these models become more and more evolved, will everything that we are building will get subsumed into these models?
So prompting can only get you so far. Most of these apps are not able to even retain 5% of the users after day 7.
Yeah, so I think different forms will emerge. For India, whatever we have seen till now is more chat. Is that the right modality for India?
For India, voice is much better fit. There is a lot of questions around how will these apps be monetized. What's your view on the strategy people should take?
Clearly, one way is for consumers to pay. Like when you go and get a medical advice, you pay the out. The other is you pay for a subscription, so like a companion, friend, and the concierge piece that you talked about, right? There you can have a monthly subscription.
What do you think will AI Companions of 2030 look like?
I think, hi folks, welcome to 2030 Consumer. Our attempt here for this discussion is to, learn together to predict what consumers 5 years out might be doing, and hence what businesses can be built on top of that. Today I have with me my colleague Naman, one of the younger members of our team.
Hi guys. So Rahul, what do you think? Will you be investing in 2030?
Are you referring to, is the intent to reflect to my age, or I don't know what you're trying to do? Just because I called you younger doesn't mean you're too older. But more seriously, see the discussion out again, as I was mentioning, idea is to together figure out what can consumers be doing. Hopefully I'll be investing, but even if I'm not, that curiosity still stays, because every 5-10 years you see a different set of consumer, different generation that comes in. And today, at least, that's the attempt I'm trying to make. Also, I also want to know where people at your age are spending all the money over the weekend before we come into our Monday morning pipeline meetings.
Yeah, that makes sense. So today's topic feels straight out of a Black Mirror episode, AI companions. So loneliness is becoming an epidemic across the world due to migrations, nuclear families, one-kid families, social media consumption, and even reducing attention spans. The stress and loneliness is just going to increase here on. Do you know a fact? India is ranked 105th in social connectedness index. That makes us one of the most loneliest countries across the world, despite the fact that we are one of the most densely populated nations in the world. So finding those meaningful relationships, connections is really hard today. And I'll give you another stat, right? In the last 5 years, Indians have increased their phone usage from 4.9 hours a day to 7.6 hours a day. Just imagine how much time do we spend on our digital lives and reduce our time on offline settings.
No, very true, very true. Actually, and I see that amongst people around me also. I think not only are we becoming more and more digital, and as a society, I would say more lonely, but at the same time, I think that emotional craving has not come down. As in the fact that you want to talk to a friend has not come down. Whom do you let out? To whom do you share your secrets with? That requirement is there, and that is where, if there is, clearly we all should have more physical activities and more physical interactions, but whatever digital time we are spending, if there is a need for that kind of, somebody you can share your thoughts with, or your fears with, or your apprehensions with, I do feel that is something that will, be on a rise going forward as well.
I mean, you're right, Rahul. As we immerse ourselves into digital lives, I believe by 2030, almost every one of us will have an AI digital friend who we can, talk to, vent to, play with, and, learn from, and or maybe flirt with. So I think these software bots will be so powerful that they won't even feel like a bot at all.
No, and we are already seeing that phenomena, right? I think India is the second or the largest user of ChatGPT.
Yeah,
that recent report that came out, right? About 100 million users from India who are asking ChatGPT where to travel. Should I buy this particular laptop or not? Will this dress look good on me? Even suggestions. I'm sure your generation is asking suggestions like how to raise your your relationships.
Yeah, it's right. That pickup line did work from Risk GPT last time I tried it. But yeah, I mean, even apart from that, like people are finding real companion in these things. They are always available. They have instant and consistent responses. They are deeply emotional and empathetic with the users, and they are intelligent in what they do. They understand our moods, they remember our stories, they speak our language both literally and culturally, and they adapt to our personality over time. So it does feel like a friend which is closer to colleagues, a friend who is more consistent than my friends, and a partner who I can talk to anytime and every time.
And I would also hazard a guess. I think this is not just limited to a certain age group. Like this behavior is prevalent across age groups. 18 to 70-year-old, all of them, obviously with different level of intensity, will find this useful. If I am a migrant worker working in a city where I don't have any friend, if I'm a housewife getting bored, if I'm a 70-year-old don't know what to do, I'm the single person out there. All of them will use, and there are early signs of all of them using this particular AI bot technology to converse.
Yeah, I'll give you some examples of companies we have met in last past year, right? A company building an AI girlfriend app grew to 5 lakh active users in just months. One company which is basically building an astrology bot where people can go for astro advice, they are onboarding 40,000 users on daily basis. Wow. The top apps in this segment are actually clocking 30 to 35 minutes of average session times, with some power users talking to these bots even for 5 hours a day. This is more than how much I talk to my girlfriend. So
interesting point, Naman. Let's shift tracks a bit. What we talked about just now about what behaviors we are seeing. Next question, at least in my mind, is the technology part. Like whatever is being built, are these just wrappers on top of foundation model? And as these models become more and more evolved, will everything that we are building will get subsumed into this model, or is there a play for a standalone business to be built out here or a company to be built out there from technology point of view?
Yeah. So Rahul, it starts simple, but it does get complicated really, really fast. So prompting can only get you so far. So I'll give you an example. There are a lot of companies which are building these bots. They define a personality with a prompt. They release these bots to the outside world. And guess what? Most of these apps are not able to even retain 5% of the users after day 7.
And why is that?
That is because you can't hold a longer conversation on these bots. They won't remember what you said 2 weeks back. They can't hold on to your conversation for 5 hours. They don't even remember your name after some time. So you are not able to hold on to the memory of a particular user. The real challenge is just creating the depth in those conversations. How do you engage a user for longer time? How do you engage them with, how do you engage them with real life events? How do you make sure that that there was a IPL match last night, which was won by Bangalore, and then the whole Bangalore city was out there on the streets? The bot needs to know what is happening across the world. You need to create those complex data pipelines for it to happen.
Very interesting. I would also say that maybe there are other features, like whatever I've seen till now, I would say the other pieces is that, to the point of making, the bot also needs to be continuously learn and personalize, right? As in, if I want to talk to somebody who is very verbose, you have one kind of a bot. If I want to talk to somebody who's an expert in an area, let's say astrology, you want that kind of a bot. The other piece I found in Companion is that till now, the horizontal ChatGPT equivalent models or companies, they always stay, because of whatever policy reasons, they always have to stay a bit positive in a conversation. But if I'm talking to a friend, a good friend is not always positive. They're sometimes teasing me. Sometimes they're pushing me back. So how do you create those kind of things that also, I believe, has to be a separate company, not part of the models, right?
Yeah. I mean, most of these bots, as people say, are sycophants. They basically follow you. They are yes sir, yes ma'am kind of bots. Now, the real challenge is, how do you give that bot an opinion? Do you choose A or do you choose B? Defining an opinion for a bot for a particular use case, for a particular application or your target group is really, really important. Or else these will be just assistants. They won't become a friend. They'll just be, assistants at the end of the day. True. Another interesting aspect which I feel is important for the technology front, people do discount that it's very easy to create multilingual bots. but
Interesting.
just to understand accent of different and diverse languages in India, just to understand the slangs, what does matcha mean? Like, how does the bot get to know what we use in our spoken language and get it inside that memory or the training of that particular model, and over time also get those Gen Z slangs into the picture. So you need to have a friend like vibe with someone who understands, learns, and then be like a friend with you over time.
Very interesting.
So let's shift gears from tech to product. It's one of the questions which have been on my mind, right? Like, how do you deliver these bots to a particular user? How does one interact with these bots? So one possibility is that I can embed these bots in my WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, my existing social platforms. The second possibility is I create a new standalone app, like what Character.ai and Replica is doing. Or the third possibilities is I present a physical device, let's say a toy or some smart speaker like Alexa. What's your opinion on that?
No, very interesting question. If I were to predict future, right, I think different channels will have different purposes, and there are certain kind of stuff. Let's say if you're a health first bot, maybe being inside Instagram or a WhatsApp could be very interesting. If you're an astrology bot or astrology app, maybe a standalone app makes more sense. For kids, maybe hardware first AI company might make more sense. At the same time, I feel over time, companies will also transcend these boundaries. As in, you might start on WhatsApp, build your own app, and maybe the use case also requires a hardware to be there. Like, there are rumors of, OpenAI getting into hardware now.
Yeah.
Right? They started as a software and a foundation model company, but they will now hopefully or most likely launch their own hardware. Partly to get more data, but partly also to be omnipresent in a consumer's life. Right?
Yeah.
So I think different forms will emerge. For India, at least whatever we have seen till now is more chat. I would love to get your views on, is that the right modality for India, or should there be other ways to interact with consumers?
No, I feel for India, voice is much better fit, because since we have so many languages, just giving them on a particular keyboard and writing it becomes really hard. But speaking to a particular phone is something which our users are comfortable doing. So imagine a taxi driver, a truck driver, or a shopkeeper. These people are way more comfortable in talking rather than typing.
True.
The other thing is, when these scaled up apps like Character.ai, Replica, when these guys added voice in their modality, they could see a lot more traction in their and usage in their app, because voice as a modality is much more comforting, much more warm, and seems more real compared to texting to someone.
But why are some of these startups in India then building chat first? Is it the cost reason?
Yeah. So one of the reasons why voice is not prevalent or mainstream today is like, if you take a 10-minute conversation with voice and chat, voice is almost 3 to 4x expensive than
on an inference level, as in on
a chat level.
Delivery.
So for a 10-minute conversation, it would cost you 3-4x more on a voice than on a chat. And if you just add video as a modality, which is even more interesting, because let's say I have a Baba which I can talk to and get advice from, who remembers my history, it becomes really real, but and engaging for the user. But the challenge with video is the cost shoots up way higher, even more than the voice. So. But the interesting piece is that LLMs have been reducing, like their cost for accessing an LLM has been reducing by 10x every year for last 3 years.
Wow.
So if you just see the trend, even the voice APIs will become mainstream pretty soon, and hopefully in next by 2030 video will become mainstream. So we might see all these modality come into the picture for engaging companionship bots.
Got it.
But Rahul, companionship bots or companionship, the need for companionship is a global need. And historically, we have seen that all the consumer apps, or majority of the consumer apps in India, have been global apps from either West or Asian markets, especially China. So what do you think? Is this a different space or a different time to build this, or will other players come in and capture the market?
No, that's and if you remember, we had this discussion a few months back also. when we were discussing, personal companions. Why can't, let's say, a startup in US build for the global market, or even somebody like a Siri, or somebody from Microsoft, or whoever the consumer company like a Google can build it for the global market? Possible. At least what I would say, there is a better chance of somebody from India building for it. First of all, the market is virgin, so there is a network effect that will play. Whoever starts first will get those users first. Those users will want other users to come on the platform. Also, as you know more about the user, it will be harder for a user to move to another platform. So I think there is an early mover advantage here. Second, the fact that India already has a large ChatGPT or AI first user base gives us an advantage if you're building from India to get access to these consumers early. And third, I do believe, given how this technology is democratically available, how these models are easily available to everybody in the world. Again, given the quality of product that now Indian founders are building, we have a chance of building a India first product, and hopefully someday take it to other markets as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's a technically complex product. You need the best quality engineers and product people to design it, and we have seen enough examples. I also agree that there is an early mover advantage which exists in this space, and specifically given it is AI, it is all about data.
True.
The more data you get, the more iterations you can run, the better your model becomes, and the more engaging your user base will be. You can iterate on language, accent, slang, culturals, rituals, faith, and then figure out what works best for this audience. And I feel those nuances can only be understood by an Indian team, which can actually work with the users, with their own lives, and bring out the insights to build a global product or Indian product, and possibly take it to global level. I also feel that most of the Indian or Western bots are very explicit in what they offer. In the sense, there is a mental health bot, or a therapy bot, or a girlfriend bot, or a pleasure bot. But in India, people refrain from explicitly mentioning or expressing their needs for a therapy session, or maybe having a romantic partner online. So I feel there has to be a blend of how you provide these services. Like, therapy is provided in a form of astrology. Maybe romantic interest would be provided in some other form. But you have to provide them in a very implicit manner. They have to feel very real. It doesn't have to be like a therapist's couch. It should be more like a chai sutta conversation with the bot. So you have to understand that nuance of how those conversations work.
Right.
What do you think will AI companions of 2030 look like?
So first of all, I'll make a very macro but slightly, what may look like non-obvious prediction. I think 5 years from now, it will be an odd thing if somebody doesn't have a digital friend, a AI companion or an AI bot that they either confide with or have a conversation with. So it will become as ubiquitous as mobile phone is today. Now, forms might vary, and I can make few predictions. Would love to get your views also. One, I think digital friend is something that will become, and I'm not specifically calling it a particular kind of friend, but like a friend will become again something that we will all converse with, confide with, have a conversation with. I would even say that just like two friends or three friends, when they go out to a restaurant, one of them makes a booking. With agentic AI, you may have this digital friend do some of that work for you as another friend would have. So you might say, I want to book a restaurant, can you do it for me? Those might happen as part of being a friend. Second, and this is an area where India has a unique advantage, is the spiritual and the astrology part. You referred to it earlier. I think that need exists. Part of that is trying to know what will happen to me, but part of that is, as you were also saying, therapy or consulting, and part of that is bit of fear alleviation, or basically a fear in my mind that I want to do away with, kind of a situation. So you might see those kind of use cases emerge. Even within that, you might have one bot, or you might have multiple bots that you start building a relationship with. 5 different kind of astrologers, but you like one kind, and you interact with them. The other different dimension which I always think about is, will these be pure, especially these vertical use cases like spirituality and astrology, will they be pure AI bot use cases, or will they be human assisted AI use cases? And there again, different viewpoints. I think wherever you need more accuracy or a more deeper conversation, maybe you talk to AI astrologer or and then invoke a human astrologer for that conversation. So that may also emerge, especially I would say in health and education, that is more likely to emerge. But I've seen some missionary founders who are saying that, I will never let a human being interfere in this whole experience with the consumer. So both possibilities exist in some of these vertical use cases, I would say.
Interesting.
What is your take? As in, what more can you think can happen?
Yeah. So I think I am also excited about the possibility of having an AI companion, both a hybrid version of a human plus AI and having a pure play AI. So I think in the hybrid version, I've been thinking more and more and seeing more of such plays like in the space of personal concierge, and that excites me a lot because I have a very busy life. I have a lot of things which I do outside of work. And if there is someone on my WhatsApp or even on a dedicated app who I can go and tell to do a basic research on, let's say I'm going to Japan this year, I can ask them to create an itinerary, find the best flights, the cheapest hotels, the best experiences I can do, give me a list of things, and I can just go and execute them. Or even for executing, these guys can, take my credit card and have my permission, and I'll give them a consent and they can go and execute those things. So having a personal concierge on a monthly subscription basis, like a personal assistant, to do non-work things for me will be an interesting proposition, and I would definitely love to have such a thing. The second thing I'm also excited about, and we have talked about it earlier also, like having a romantic partner online. So, and apps like Friend have shown us that people do show affection online. They do talk to they do want to gift and pay online to talk to females. They want to have their own experience. So I feel there will be a platform where you can go describe what kind of a sort of partner you are looking for. You can dress up, you can go on dates with them, you can talk, you can flirt with them, and build a more emotional and deeper conversation, sort of connection with them over time. And also I feel there is one more possibility, right? Like one age group which has not been sort of catered to a lot is just the senior care, the senior citizens, basically. So having a caregiver for them, which can, one, do tasks for them, second, take care of their health, get them medicines, connect them to a doctor, or third, just check up on them. How are they doing? How is their mental agility? How are they feeling about themselves? How are they feeling about life? Just having a phone call or a helpline where they can call up and talk to will be really, really good for
and I
aging
think
population.
We would be close to 200 million people above 60 in another 5 years.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's a very large segment.
Hey, whatever segment you pick, we are. India is a large market for this.
See, they also have, hopefully by that age, they have enough money also. As in, there's one challenge. Sometimes when you're targeting a 15-year-old, will they be able to spend or not? But at that age, you have accumulated some wealth as well. So, interesting.
But Rahul, one thing I do wonder is, like, there's a lot of questions around how will these apps be monetized. What do you think? What's your view on the strategy people should take?
Yeah, so see, there are few ways to monetize anybody who's purely digital, right? Clearly, one way is for consumers to pay, either for a particular specific service, like when you go to and get a medical advice, you pay to the doctor. All right. The other is you pay for a subscription, so like a companion, friend, and the concierge piece that you talked about, right? There you can have a monthly subscription. Third is gifting. As in a lot of time when you're talking to a AI girlfriend, a gift could be a way to make money. The second one has been generally around ads. Now, clearly, it doesn't work for a small user base. You want a large user base. But once you have, let's say, 50 million monthly users, active users, right? Interesting part is that these bots have a lot of information about consumers, which has been a challenge for non-Meta and Google properties, where even if you had a user base, you didn't know enough about those users to be able to target them. But ads could be another one. The third is affiliate. Like if you remember, we had seen a company where people will say, or the concierge example, right, where people will say, I want to buy a laptop, which are the good laptops in 20,000 rupees range. Now there could be an affiliate revenue that can kick in out of it.
Yeah, I agree. Like there is this whole, bunch of models which people can try. And what I feel is interesting as an investor today is that this is a business of high engagement and a high retention over time. If you're able to crack a product or tech to engage a user on a daily basis and for a longer duration, you gain a high LTV client who you can then monetize using these different methods. Today, I cannot pinpoint and say that this is one model which will work, but I'm sure as these new models emerge, maybe a new kind of an ad model will emerge going forward, which none of us has even thought of. So, but just given that this is a high engaging, high retaining user, you are getting a lot, millions of eyeballs on your platform, and this user base is not going anywhere because you have data on them.
The only thing I would see, I think, and this is one area which, again, for founders to solve for is the acquisition part, because this user most likely will not get monetized on day one, right? As you said, this is a retention business. They have to believe in you. They have to feel like you're a friend or the specific service you're providing. Maybe astrology on might be different, but even there is a gestation period. You engage with AI. You only pay so much in initial few interactions. So how do we acquire consumer also become interesting? Pure digital marketing for a very specific use case might be possible, but will be harder. So that is another area. Can you figure out those niche reasons for which users will use you organically? Like recently, we saw a company which can tell you how many calories you'll have in a food just by clicking a picture. Now that could be a way to get started. It could be a very low cost acquisition methodology. Or there is, WhatsApp now has launched these, in some sense, the AI marketplace. Being there, engaging with the consumer, and then moving to your own app. There are those things that people have to figure out on the acquisition side as well as for this kind of a business.
Yeah, I mean, and the user today is also bombarded with these apps. I mean, if you go open App Store, type AI Companion, you will see hundreds of apps just in India. So you can't go by the traditional routes for sure. And today also, user understands that a lot of these apps are not useful. These are apps which are quickly vibe coded or created very quickly using AI, and because it's easy to get started. You need an API prompt and a basic face or a UI for the app to get started, which is just chat interface.
So building the depth is where, and that's another area where product and tech needs to go deep into. How do you go beyond the first 5 minutes of conversation?
And how do you even convey that piece to the customer is also important, because for the customer today, they are seeing everything with the same lens. How do you ensure that the customer understands that your product is better than the others?
Very nice.
So yeah, in the world of AI companions, the early bird doesn't just get the worms. They get a very loving user base, which they can hold on to even more than their own soulmates. And even, I don't think even Tinder can beat that.
True.
So yeah, that's all for the today's episode. If you liked us, follow us and be connected with us for more such episodes on Consumer 2030.
Thank you.